I told you my invention really sucked. Well, it does. My invention is a self-sucking straw. My name is Olivia Potes, and I'm a 5th grade student at Main Street Elementary School in SoCal. The problem I identified was that some people have trouble sucking liquid through straws. I invented a self-sucking straw to solve this problem. It makes liquid sucking as easy as flipping a switch. I came up with this problem because my grandpa had Parkinson's, which is a disability that affects your brain and causes difficulty with movement. He had a lot of trouble sipping liquids. There are many other disabilities that may affect the way you sip your liquids. I'm just listing one that I'm familiar with. Age could also affect your liquid sipping abilities. It may be harder to sip liquids as you get older. These are the people who might need to use my invention. I went through a very long process of steps and prototypes to make my invention work the way I liked, and for it to be safe for people to use. At one point, I became very stressed, and it seemed almost impossible to do. I worked on my invention for a really long time. I worked on it in all my spare time, and I even stayed after school to work on it. I considered changing my invention many times because I thought it would be too hard to put together. But with all my different invention ideas, I always went back to my self-sucking straw. I eventually just decided that the self-sucking straw would be my final invention, no changing it. I worked really hard on models in my invention log. I kept thinking of dropping out, but I told myself, you've worked too hard on this just to quit. I finally came up with a good idea on how to make this invention work by watching our fish tank. My parents helped me research the idea of building a mini water pump to self-suck the straw. We researched even more on this idea and made a prototype. I made the prototype by drilling a hole in the lid of the snack case. I glued the motor to the lid so that the rod was sticking out through the hole that I drilled. I made plastic blades for the impeller by cutting up a plastic propeller so that it would fit inside the snack case. We glued the blades to a gear that fits on the spinning rod of the motor. Once the impeller was made, we drilled an inlet hole and an outlet hole and attached the straws. To power my invention, I made a simple circuit using a battery pack, a wire, an on and off switch, and alligator clips. So this is the impeller. That prototype had problems we needed to fix, but just as many of the other prototypes had. But these problems were different. They were easy fixes. I fixed those problems and I made my final model, poster, and video. I felt proud of my work. I was finally done. This is how my invention works. How my invention works. The pump in my straw is considered a miniature centrifugal pump. A centrifugal pump is powered by a part called an impeller. I created the impeller with a plastic snack case, mini fan blades, and powered by a 1.5 to 3 volt DC motor. That's the impeller. How the impeller works. The motor causes the impeller to spin rapidly. The blades push the water into the enclosed snack case. Because the impeller moves fast, the centrifugal force pushes against the outside of the blade. This causes the water to move forward at a high speed out of the impeller, pushing the water out of the straw. This is a demonstration of my invention, and it goes up into here, and then the impeller pushes it out. Testing process. My very first idea was to have many fans inside a straw and to have a button on the outside of the straw that you would hold to make the fans go on. I figured that wouldn't work because it isn't very safe to have electrical stuff in the straw because they might electrocute themselves while trying to sip from the straw. My second idea was to put a hole in the disposable pipette straw and then to put the pipette straw in a metal straw. There would be a flap on the bottom to keep the water inside the straw. I would make another hole to stick an elastic through and tie the elastic in a slip knot so when I pulled it, it would squeeze water through the pipette. I actually tested this idea out just without the bottom flap because it was too hard to make. This idea didn't work because there wasn't a way to get the water up through the pipette on one side and out the other. My final idea was to attach a mini water pump to a straw, which would automatically stick the water up one end and pump it out the other end. This idea we tested and it worked, but the problem was that the water flow wouldn't continue long enough. I had to test different ways to improve the water flow through the straw. I finally found that the flow of the water improved the most by lowering the placement of the straw and increasing the size of the outlet hole in the case. This is an up-close diagram of my invention, and here are some pictures of me working on the invention. A change that I would like to make with my invention is to make it more eco-friendly and more portable. I actually tested out the portable. I attached a clip to the battery case, so you could clip it to your shirt. I would also like to make priming the pump easier to do. That's my invention, the self-sucking straw, and as you can see, my invention really sucks.